Hey everyone. Okay, so first thing to take note of this chapter are the names given to the five elders' forms. Now, four out of the five of them are all named after Japanese yokai from folklore, even having like very heightened appearances to what they look like. Gyuki for Saturn, Itsumade for Mars, Fengji for Mercury, and Bakotsu for Nosturo. But then where things get really kind of hilarious is when you see Jupiter's Jupiter's demon form, which is simply a sandworm. And yeah, I might be a little, maybe someone in the comment section can like uh correct me on this, but to my knowledge, there's no yokai equivalent to a sandworm. So my only conclusion here is that this is one of Oda's gags. It's almost like Oda came back from watching Dune 2 in the theaters and said to himself, I have an idea, and made Peter's form a sandworm for the pure gag factor. Like, I have to assume that's the inspiration here, because there's no other way I can interpret him like Jupiter being a sandworm. Or I can even make the sand, or just generally make the sandworm thing make sense to me. Especially considering Jupiter's only purpose in this chapter was to get cut down by Dorian Broggy. Like I don't know, it's kind of I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's cool design, but it's also like, why a sandworm? There's all those other cool yokai designs, and you choose a sandworm. Like again, it's gotta be a gag on Oda's part. Um, in all seriousness, though, the Elders did prove themselves to be a bit of a problem by the fact that Nosturo, with little effort, cuts down the Pacifista at the shore, and Mars, with even less effort, managed to get a read on everyone's location with his flight ability. So, yeah, at this point, escape really is the only option, and hope and pray that they don't find Vegapunk's message until it goes off. Although, realistically, we're probably gonna see a lot more of this brawl. Which, honestly, if I did have a criticism of how Oda's handled this final act of Egghead, it's that by adding the timer onto Vegapunk's recorded message, it already feels like he's artificially kind of like he's artificially kind of just extending the length of this thing, and it feels like we're kind of on what I can only describe as Namek time, in the sense where with the pacing and how it feels like we're only moving an inch closer each chapter right now. Like I don't I kind of get, again, I get why, but I feel like Oda's he is kind of artificially kind of extending the length just a bit. Um and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there is something hilariously epic about the implication in this chapter that Sanji's backhanded comment about Zoro taking too long in fighting Lucci and saying he's a liability is what gave Zoro the motivation to finish the fight. Like, it's almost one of those things of Oda being self-aware and saying, yeah, I know this fight's taking a bit too long, so here's me ending it. And yeah, especially the little callback to Little Garden that immediately after getting swallowed by Jupiter, both Dory and Broggy slice his head off to rescue Luffy, similar to how Dory rescued Luffy from that Brachiosaurus on Little Garden. It's a very nice subtle callback. With that said, one thing I also did take note of with this chapter is just how already overconfident the Elder Stars are at the beginning of this chapter, saying things like they can afford to let the clock run down a little, as they're not on a strict timer, or believing no one will be able to stop them. Which, yeah, if history is any indicator, we all know that is going to come back to bite them square in the ass. As anyone who's had that lapse in judgment or let themselves fall into the into the trap of superiority and overconfidence has usually fallen. And while you could argue the circumstances are more dire in this situation, and the five elder stars themselves are much more powerful than enemies past, the same principle still applies, and the Elder Stars, for better or worse, are about to learn what happens when you leave too much to chance. And honestly, when I'm looking at the fight of Luffy and the Elder Stars so far, it does feel like Luffy is intentionally kind of fucking around with them in order to draw out the length of the fight, so that the so pretty much that Vegapunk's message can reach out to the world. Although I might be kind of over that possibly is what's happening, but I could be misinterpreting it too. But it just feels like that is almost kind of what Oda's trying to convey, even if it kind of slows the pacing down a bit. Um, and with that said, I do also gotta say this chapter has me even more fascinated by the true nature of the Elder Star's powers, because Oda only named these powers by their traditional Japanese yokai's name, by the traditional Japanese yokai names they're known as, which says to me, at least, that these powers are rooted in something much older and much more ancient than the Devil Fruits themselves. Like, at this point, it almost feels like whatever powers the Elder Stars possess are the almost the almost the pre-genitor powers to the Devil Fruits. Like, in some way or another, all Devil Fruit powers spawned from the powers they possess, or that's the only explanation I can glean from the fact that Oda didn't give these new forms, or even Saturn's form, the traditional Devil Fruit reveal name. Like, it's of like something fruit, model Yuki or whatnot, like something like that. And it's very telling in itself that even if they are Devil Fruit powers, there's something more ancient than even Mythical Zone. Like, I don't know. I'm probably overthinking. I'm probably thinking about this a lot harder than I should, but the fact that it was intentionally being so vague on the origins of these powers and how the five Elder Stars came about them is just kind of intriguing to me. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Control. Be sure notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight Running signing off. Later, everyone.